Today, attorneys representing Orleans Parish Criminal Court and its Chief Judge Robin Pittman asked a federal judge to throw out a lawsuit filed by the court's chief administrator and 5 longtime court employees. The lawsuit alleges they are owed thousands of dollars in state retirement plan contributions. Judicial Administrator Rob Kasich, his Deputy Judicial Administrator Shannon Sims, and 4 other longtime administrators and court reporters say they've been cheated out of retirement savings because they were not properly enrolled in the Louisiana State Employees Retirement System when first hired by the court. Today, attorneys for criminal court and Judge Pittman asserted the case was filed past a 3-year window to seek damages, and that Kasich in particular should have known better. Fox 8 legal analyst Joe Responti says this at first appeared to be a friendly lawsuit, with the facts not really in dispute that the group was left out of the retirement system.
But now, with this latest filing, it appears that somebody's pushing back. They're alleging prescription, which means the statute of limitations has run out long ago, and for whatever reason, it's not appearing to go as smoothly as one first thought.
The 6 plaintiffs filed their lawsuit in civil court, but the lawsuit shifted to federal court last month. Kasich and the other court employees suing say back pay settlements have been made to at least 2 other similarly situated employees, but not them.